Welcome in everyone to Betting Weekly Live, Thursday, the 26th of February. You are with Steve Wyss and James Eastham, which means one thing, it's Europa League, it's Conference League breakdowns. James, hopefully we've got your technical issues sorted out this week. I had to go solo for 10 minutes last Thursday, but this time I think we've got you good and proper. Touch wood. And he is muted. What? This can't be happening. This can't be happening. This is not a joke, folks. This is not a joke. James, we have lost you on the microphone again. What is going on? This is incredible. I thought James was genuinely winding me up then.
Can you hear me, Steve?
Yeah, we've got you, James. I thought you were winding me up.
I'm back in the room. Let's just pretend I was.
How are you doing, James? How are you?
I'm very well. I'm going to trade in my microphone as soon as the show finishes today, Steve. Yeah. Very pleased to be in the room. And listen, very much looking forward to the show. Obviously, we covered all the games last week across the competitions. We're doing the same this time. Not covering every single game in detail, obviously, like we did last week, but we've got plenty of picks and, lots to talk about. Looking forward to the comments as well. We always say the same thing on this show. There are some people out there in the comments who always know a little bit more than we do about certain games. So get your comments in. Tell us what you think is going to happen across the two big competitions taking place today.
100%. Yeah. Put your best bets in chat. I want to welcome everyone in. Rick Haley, a beautiful day in Saskatchewan. Only 4 below zero today there. Byron and Ming, good to see you. Stefan Anderson, John Tate, the Salty Goat. Great name, that one. Dan Roebuck's in chat as well. Dan, what is your best bet today? Are you on the commentary again for the Cups game? Dan Roebuck was on commentary for the Cups game last week. Claudio, very sad that you guys stopped posting the records of the soccer shows. We haven't stopped posting the records. And what a week, by the way, for all the shows, James. Profit everywhere you look. Yes. Instagram as well has been on fire.
Yep. Big shout out to Will White, Steve. We were talking just before we went on air about his unbelievable record in the Champions League, which continued this week. Big shout out to the tennis guys. Anybody who's been looking at the socials, been looking at X. Yeah, Nigel's been busy there flagging up what they're doing. And you're right, worth mentioning the Instagram as well. Paul's been fantastic on there. So, we've got a lot to live up to today, Steve, but we're pretty confident, aren't we? We've got the daily double and we've got some plays and picks on some of the other games as well. There we are. I mean, that was Will's daily double. It's one of those where, you look at it, you think, well, that's fairly obvious now. Didn't feel it, though, did it? At various points in the games yesterday. And he's got another plus money daily double. So brilliant stuff from the guys on the shows this week.
8 winners in a row on the daily double for Will White. I tip my hat to Will. And, he'll just say, he's very modest. He'll say he was just doing his job. But I have to say that's fantastic from him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully we can get that daily double today. We'll reveal what it is later. Troy, our producer, is very, very excited for the Conference League. He loves this competition. And the Conference League has won the hearts over, I think. When it first came in, then I think there was a lot of skepticism, but the Conference League is very, very popular to watch and also to bet on, of course. Yeah. So, we better get cracking, actually, James, because we are... let's start with the Europa League draw first and foremost. Thanks to producer John for producing these graphics today. So, we know the route of these teams. That's the thing now. And we're going to start with events in Red Star, actually. Red Star against Lille. Winner of this tie will face either Aston Villa or Lyon. We could get an all-French tie. Yeah. But Lille are 1-0 down. You were spot on last week, James, about the match there. Under 2.5 goals last week. Lille are starting to become, I think, potentially quite a profitable team because there's some serious trends developing with them. They're the favourites to win the second leg, though, James.
I know.
I don't know if that's a surprise to you or not. Red Star plus 180. Under 2.5 goals is nearly evens. How do you see it going?
Well, so very tempting to oppose Lille here. For me, I haven't done that. I don't have a leaner a pick on the game because I think Lille do have the potential to go here and win. terms of the quality of players they've got. But in order to do that, they're going to have to play a huge amount better than they did in the first leg last week. Not only did they lose that, Steve, they got really badly beaten. They produced very little. They barely mustered a shot on target. My play on the game was under 3 goals. With hindsight, you could have gone under 2 goals and, not only won, but deservedly won. So the issue for Lille is the one I flagged up last week. There are just not very many players in their team, in their squad at the moment. You would back to score goals. They did win at the weekend. They won 1-0 away to Angers. That was a penalty. So just underlining, they need a penalty to get a goal. So it is tempting to oppose Lille. It's almost hard to come up with a reason why you wouldn't. The over under 2.5 goal line as well. If anybody is looking at that, I would say it has to be unders, because I think Zvezda here, Red Star Belgrade, if they play like they did last week, they'll just be fairly confident, I think, that if they defend properly, they can shut Lille out, certainly for most of the game. So I don't have a leaner pick in the game, but I haven't really changed my view from what I said before the first leg, based on how that first leg unfolded. Very difficult, almost impossible to make a meaningful case at the moment for Lille, both to win the game and also to score goals. So it does point towards opposing Lille and going unders for me on this game.
I'm going unders in this game, James. I am going to actually take the under 2.75 goal line at -134. That way, if it does end 2-1 to either team, then you will only lose half your stake. Byron, totally agree there. A little bit of protection is needed, but I really am tempted by the both teams to score no again in a Lille game, plus 115.
Yes.
For that could easily happen, I think. I'm not ruling Lille out. If they won 1-0 in 90 minutes, I wouldn't be surprised. That I said on last weekend's extra time show, their best chance of getting a win at the minute is keeping a clean sheet, because they're not scoring many goals.
Yeah, I think as well, Steve, just very quickly, I think that is the risk with opposing Lille. They do have the quality to nick a win. Defensively, they've not been that bad. They've not been great, but they've not been that bad. And they kept a clean sheet at the weekend. So I suppose I would go unders, same as you're saying, rather than go on the money line here. I think the unders is the safer play. Yeah,
there's 84% of the money on the over for this game. Lille do have 82% of the money on the money line and 72% of the tickets. The biggest bet on the game is a 4-figure play on the tie at plus 245. So good luck to anyone getting involved in this game. Jan from OP says under 3.5 as a parlay piece. Yes, that does look very good. In my personal opinion, I think 2-1 either way would be the most amount of goals that I could see personally in this particular fixture. We'll move to Celtic now against Stuttgart. And again, we look at the draw here. Stuttgart are 4-1 up. So I think it's fairly safe to presume that they will be facing, they were going through from that section, and they're going to be against Porto, or who is BRA? I keep thinking Braga. Of course it is. Braga or Porto. I mean, not bad. Stuttgart, I think, would fancy the chances against either team in this one. It was a good first leg from them. They really did show their class, I think, at the in Celtic. And they are the clear favourites to win the second leg, -286, plus 440 on the tie. Celtic plus 650 to win. Goal line at 3.5. No odds even for Stuttgart to qualify. Celtic are 66-1 to qualify from this tie. Martin O'Neill said that there might be some squad rotation for this game, but he did say he owed it to the fans who are paying good money to go out there to put in some sort of a performance. So I think Celtic will give it a go. There's a couple of player props that I like in this one myself, but the problem with this game, James, is if Stuttgart get ahead early. Yeah, let's be honest, the last 20-30 minutes could become a bit of a damp squib.
Yeah, it could. Listen, I don't have a view on this game. I don't have a lean or a pick. Some of the comments are very good on this. Celtic have got John Tate there saying about Celtic have got a crucial Old Firm derby. I think the general point is there's nothing at stake here for either side, is there? Do you know what I mean? The tie is all but over. Celtic, I think, will give a good account of themselves. I think it's a very interesting comment there from Martin O'Neill. Things like that can be very useful. It shows that they will try and give it a go, whoever gets named in the starting lineup. But the fact is, both of these teams can turn their attention towards their weekend league commitments now. There's no need for anybody to really go all out and play. And when that's the case, I think that the odds almost don't apply, because the odds are really reflecting the reality of a game where both sides are fully at it, where both sides are going to name their best available lineups. We're not going to see that here. So I never like these ties. We've got a couple, haven't we, where the tie feels almost over. Second legs for me in these scenarios are just fraught with danger, because you just cannot guarantee the things you would like to be able to guarantee when having a pick or a lean on a game. So I think the standout when we had the card up there, Steve, this is the one game that you had there, I think, where the goal line was set at over 3.5 as opposed to over 2.5. That makes a lot of sense to me. We flagged it up as a high-scoring game before the first leg, and obviously it delivered with 5 goals in the game. I think that's not just down to the players who were on the pitch last week. It's also down to the way the two teams play and have played generally. That might not change, whoever's on the pitch. So we may see another game where both teams go for it. But generally speaking, I can't see a reason why you would get involved in this game, because I just think there's too many question marks over what we're going to see, both in terms of the strength of the lineups and also how much are they actually going to go for the win. So it's one to leave alone for me.
Two players that catch my eye to score any time in this game for Stuttgart would be Jamie Llewellyn, who I do rate this guy, plus 230 anytime scorer. And of course, El Kanous, who bagged a brace last week at plus 290. Look, I don't know yet if they're going to start the game. I don't know how long they're going to be in there for, but they tore Celtic apart last week. So why would they be so big again here? Only one Stuttgart player is minus money to score any time, and that's Dennis Undav. Yet the goal line's 3.5. So, but I agree with a lot of people. Probably not a match to get involved too heavily in. Someone was asking about corners. I wouldn't go corners overs here, because again, the last 20, 30 minutes could become a non-event. Could be pass, get out of here with no injury sort of thing. It could go the other way. Celtic might nick a goal early on and suddenly it becomes a little bit closer. But I don't really see corners being a thing. There's quite a few mentioning, wondering your thoughts on the French game Friday, James. We might talk about that later in the show. Claudio's interested in that, so we can't let him down there, can we? Mm-hmm. Peter Chalkin said Stuttgart did rotate against Heidenheim. However, it doesn't guarantee they won't rotate tonight. Yeah, we'll see what the lineup is for this one. Lots of good bets in chat here to go over. Let's switch our attention to some more early fixtures in Europa League, and we're going to go to Viktoria Plzen against Panathinaikos now. Winner of this will face Midtjylland or Real Betis. Interesting tie, that first leg, I must say. Ding-dong battle. And a really good goal late on from Plzen, who both sides rarely lose in Europe. It's incredible. I think this has got tie and extra time penalties potentially written all the way on it. Plzen minus money, though, to win the game. I mean, we often talk about them being underrated in Europe. But is this perhaps an example where they could be overrated, James?
I think so. And I think there's a bit of disagreement with that in the chat, looking at some of the comments. But I think they are maybe a bit overrated here. My strategy on the first legs last week was to back 3 sides away from home who I thought were underrated. And I backed the tie in all 3 games. We only needed one of them to land to make a profit. And we duly landed it in this match, because it did end in a tie last week in Greece. Panathinaikos 2, Viktoria Plzen 2. I agree with you, Steve. I think this is a game that could go all the way, because just like they did last week, they look very well matched to me. Should flag up, they also drew 0-0 in the group phase, which is something we mentioned last week as well. So I was a little bit surprised to see Viktoria Plzen at minus money here, minus 105. I think they have shortened a little bit as well. I think they were plus 100, maybe even plus 102 at one stage earlier in the week. So the market likes them. It's giving them over a 50% chance of winning on the night. I'm not really sure about that. I think from what I saw last week and from what I've seen from these two teams in the competition generally this season, they look really well matched. So my play on the game, and it would be a pick, would be to side with Panathinaikos in some way. Panathinaikos plus 0.5 on the Asian handicap is available at minus 124. I think there's a lot of appeal in that. I think they won't be overawed by facing a team that they've just drawn with. And I think away from home, they can do a decent job here. So I think personally, the value does lie with the away side. They're plus 295, I think, to win it. I mean, they're big odds. Obviously, we've got a comment there saying they can win. Not sure about that. I would personally rather be on the tie at plus 235, especially after what we saw last week. But generally speaking, I would try to find a way to support the away team, because I don't think that short price on Viktoria Plzen really reflects how well matched they are.
Yeah, I do like Plzen for a while. I think I rate them. They've often been underrated, but I was surprised to see them genuinely minus money to win the second leg. Let's not forget Rafa Benitez is in charge of Panathinaikos, former Champions League winner. And I know what he's going to be like in a second leg here. It's Rafa the gaffer. He's going to keep it tight. He's going to be trying to frustrate Plzen a bit. And I really like under 2.25 goals here, James. And I think 0-0 is very, very possible. I think the 1-1 tie would be very, very possible as well. So, and if a team wins, it's probably 1-0. So under 2.25 Asian goals at minus 112, I think would be the angle I'd be going on here. 54% of the money's on the under for this game as well, by the way, despite 88% of the tickets on the over. And in terms of the money line, 82% of the money is on Panathinaikos, yet 58% of the tickets are on Viktoria Plzen. So the professional money may well be on the Greek team in this game. So that's how I see it. And plus 150 Panathinaikos to qualify as well could be worth it.
Yeah, well, exactly. I just feel that it was obviously seen one or two of the comments there, people feeling that Byron feeling Plzen were the better side in the first leg. Listen, I wouldn't disagree with some of those comments at all. I just feel over the two legs, it might be that we see the two teams even each other out, because I don't think there is, generally speaking, objectively speaking, a great deal between them. Listen, we'll find out. But I'm really seeing this tie, second leg of this tie, the same as I did the first leg, just in reverse, where I think really the value lies with the away team.
Yeah, we will see what happens if Plzen get the job done here convincingly as a favourite at home against a veteran, experienced manager. I will rate them even higher than I do now. So let's see how it goes in this one. Good luck wherever you are taking. The final early game on the slate is Ferencvaros against Ludogorets. Ludogorets have a 2-1 lead from the first leg, and the winner will face either Braga or Reporto, so a trip to Portugal, whoever wins this one. And I think it's an intriguing clash. Ludogorets famously have won the last 14 domestic league titles, but it looks like they're going to not win it this year. I think one of the teams from Sofia is going to win that Bulgarian title. But Ludogorets with a 2-1 lead in the first leg. These two teams know each other extremely well. Ferencvaros are the favourites to win this second leg at minus 177, and they are minus 112 to qualify. Now, this is the first, I would say, really strong pick from both of us today, James. How do you see this second leg going?
I think Ferencvaros will win this second leg, Steve. I think they are the better side. They're obviously 2-1 down from the first leg, but not sure they deserve to be 2-1 down, to be completely honest with you. They won on big chances last week. They won on XG last week. I think they probably deserve to get something out of that first leg. So I think Ferencvaros at minus 177, maybe too short as a single, but we're going to put it towards our daily double, aren't we? Because I think we both think Ferencvaros are going to win this second leg. If I was doing this game as a single, I would back Ferencvaros minus 0.75 on the Asian handicap, which is available at, I think it was available at minus 125 actually when I saw it yesterday. I think it's actually shortened to minus 136, something like that. So, yeah, listen, it's another really potentially entertaining game. We got 3 goals in it last weekend. I would not be surprised if we get over 3 goals or 3 goals or more. Not last weekend, last week. 3 goals or more again in this second leg, because I think Ferencvaros are going to go for it. They're obviously a goal down and have to. And I think that will set the tone of the game, really. Ferencvaros going for it. One other thing we should flag up is that they did meet in the group stage. Ferencvaros won on that occasion 3-1. They won on XG that night as well, and I think they won 3-0 on big chances, if that's something people like to look at. So I think they'll be fairly confident they can overturn that first leg deficit. I think they'll feel that they've got the weapons to do it. They've got a history which says they can do it. And so I think they're a good bet to win. As I say, if the minus 177 on Ferencvaros on the money line is too short, have a look at them on the Asian handicap, or have a look at them maybe in the daily double that they're going to be part of from us coming up later on in the show.
Yeah, totally agree. Ferencvaros will get the job done here, in my opinion. I'm going to take the -1 on the Asian handicap, actually, -104. It's going to be part of the daily double on the money line for Ferencvaros. I want to mention Robbie Keane, who's doing a great job there. And a manager in the spotlight at the moment. He's strongly linked with a decent move this summer to potentially even the Premier League, Crystal Palace. And he's not going to get knocked out by Ludogorets in the Europa League. He's going to want to get as good a run as he possibly can, get himself in the spotlight. So I'll be really surprised if Ferencvaros don't take this at least to extra time. And I actually think they won't even need extra time. I think they win by more than 1 goal. They are just quite frankly the better team. Ludogorets, I think there's quite a low ceiling to them. We know they dominate domestically, but they're not maybe even the best team domestically now. So I think they have to be opposed. The first leg, they were lucky to win. So it's just an obvious spot. And 94% of the money's on Ferencvaros for this game. An interesting sort of SGP that John Tate put in there. Ferencvaros winning over 7.5 corners, plays -107. This could be a good corner match because Ferencvaros will be pushing for quite a lot of the game. So, I definitely think it's going to be a good match there for Ferencvaros, and that's the first part of the daily double. So that's the early games sorted. We're going to go to Europa League later games now because it includes the other part of the daily double today. Where should we start with the later games? Well, we'll go with Celta Vigo against PAOK. And Celta Vigo, winner of this tie will face Lyon or Aston Villa. I think that would be a really good tie, especially if it was Celta Vigo. They're 2-1 up from the first leg. I did give them out last week as one of my favourite away plays of the week, and they duly delivered. PAOK do welcome back some attackers for this fixture, which will help them. So I'm immediately attracted to the over 2.5 goal line, actually, James, -114. Celta Vigo, usually plenty of goals in them. I actually expect a home win again, to be honest with you. But they should really have enough to get themselves over the line. By far the better team, really. La Liga opposition. What are you expecting from the second leg? Hello? Have we lost James? Celta Vigo against PAOK, James. Thoughts on this one?
Hello, Steve. No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. Celta Vigo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think last weekend I felt Celta Vigo away from home, where one of the teams that were underrated, which they were, but then they went and won it, and I obviously backed the tie, so it didn't quite work out the way I wanted. I think, listen, I like Celta Vigo to get something here. They're obviously favourites to do so. My only concern, and I don't know what the views in the comments are about this, but they don't need to win. You know, they're 2-1 up from the first leg. The concern is always, if they don't need to win, are they going to be committed to doing so? So I think Celta Vigo at -162 to get the win probably makes sense. The only issue would be, you know, are they going to really go for it in the latter stages if it's a draw or something like that? So I don't know. But I think they're the better side. I thought they were good value for the win last week. It's one of those games where they, you know, listen, they could well win it if they want to. It's just a slight concern for me over whether they're going to be fully committed to doing so. On the goals, yeah, I agree with you, Steve. I think people will look back to early on in the season and think there were lots of games where both teams scored in Celta Vigo's matches, that type of thing. It could be an open game, this, I think, because PAOK obviously 2-1 down have to go for it. In the end, for me, it's just a sense that I'm not 100% sure what we're going to get from Celta Vigo. So it's just put me off getting involved. But seeing people in the comments there liking Celta Vigo and overs, I tend to agree with that. I'm just a little bit concerned about how much motivation Celta will have to actually get the win on the night.
Yeah, they don't have to win, that must be said. Doesn't mean that they won't win. I think the overs is the way to go in this game because PAOK, I do agree with John Tate there. He thinks they're good enough to score on the road, and I think they'll get a goal as well. So this could be the sort of match where you see 2-1 again to Celta, even 3-1 actually. even an outside chance of 2-1 to the away team. But I think Celta Vigo have just got too much quality overall, really, to deliver 94% of the money's on the over in the over-under market here, and 83% of the money on the money line is on Celta de Vigo. Just looking through some of the other comments in the game. For you mentioning the Frozen reference, I've seen that Disney movie quite a lot of times, James, down the years with my kids. Sure. Could sing you a song from Frozen if you wanted, although I don't really want to. Maybe not today. What else have we got here? That's Celta and both teams to score from John Tate. Quite like that one as well. Let's move to Genk against Dinamo Zagreb. This is the second part of the daily double. Genk, maybe a little bit of a dark horse, potentially could be facing Roma in the next round of the Europa League. And in terms of a match, they're 3-1 up, obviously, against Dinamo Zagreb. They are clear favourites to qualify. They're plus 133 to win the second leg. Dinamo Zagreb plus 195. Really surprisingly low goal line, James. I mentioned this last week as a good overshout, and it was a bonkers game. There could have been more goals in it, yet we're still at a 2.5 goal line. Is this a trap, or do we just way into the over again?
Well, I think we do get into the over, and we should say about that price you've got on screen there, Steve, minus 110. It's actually got a bit bigger. I think it was minus 129 earlier today and yesterday. So the only reason I can think for that is that Genk have got this 3-1 lead. I think the market is understandably working into its figures the fact that Genk can sit back and maybe play very differently to the way they played last week. When they won 3-1, they don't need to do that, obviously. Dinamo Zagreb need to come at them and try and overturn this 2-goal deficit. But I think that's what the price on the overs is all about. It's definitely a bigger price on over 2.5 goals than I was expecting. I thought the goal line would be set at over 2.75 goals, maybe even close to over 3 goals. So I think it's an opportunity. I think the XG on the game last week was close to 3. I think we had 8 big chances in that game, which is a stat I think can be instructive. So really, it's about, I think, Genk playing with the same sort of attacking intent that they did last week. Maybe not to the same degree. Now that they are 3-1 up, I wouldn't be surprised if it changed a little bit. But I don't think they're the type of team who are going to sit back completely. I think they will go for it. And let's not forget, as I say, Dinamo Zagreb have to go for it. So Genk should get plenty of space and plenty of chances to hit on the break if they do want to sit back in the first instance. So, I think the overs is a way to play, Steve. I think minus 110 on over 2.5 goals is a great chance to go for a single if you fancy it. And I think as part of our daily double, it was too good to overlook in the end, wasn't it? We've obviously gone on Ferencvaros to win. I think over 2.5 goals in the Genk Dinamo Zagreb game gives us a daily double at plus 200. So it's a great price. As I say, the only risk we've got is that Genk totally changed the way they play because of the two-goal lead they've got. I personally don't think that will happen. So I still think the overs is a good way to play.
Yeah, that's the official daily double today. Genk versus Dinamo Zagreb over 2.5 goals. And Ferencvaros money line. That is the early kickoff, by the way. Ferencvaros kicks off in an hour and a quarter. I don't think Genk can play any other way. Whenever I've seen them play, it's the same style all the time. The danger would be, obviously, if they did get themselves 2-0 up in the second leg and the tie's over then and both teams maybe give up. But then you've got substitutes coming on. You've got to remember there's motivation from lots of different players at a soccer club. Want to make their mark. So I think I thought the goal line would be 3. I mean, I'm miles off with that. So I think for me it would be probably the best value bet of the day. Totally agree with you here, James. Plus 200 for that double. Let's hope we can get that one over the line. Brad Bet said it's biggest lean. He is going back to the well with goals in this game. Brad said he's going to keep it a bit light today on the card, not getting involved too heavily. Efri Brilovsky, no draw and over 2.5 goals, plus 120. Efri loves that bet. Can't say I've ever placed that type of bet in my life, actually. Matas going win to 0 for Genk. Zagreb missing some players of injuries. Bayo, who I flagged up last week, missing for this one. Steve from Lynn says, got to go to work, but thanks again. 11 wins across both shows yesterday. He said that he backed, and thanks so much for your support, Steve, as always. Genk are very offensive when playing at home. Effie's totally right there. There is 79% of the money on the over and 57% of the money on Genk in this fixture. So let's see. Interesting stat from producer Troy, actually. Genk have lost 4 of their last 6 Europa League matches as a home favourite. So that is a very interesting stat that producer Troy gave me. Let's switch more. There's a couple of more late games to discuss. We've got Forest-Fenerbahce and Bologna-Brann. And Nottingham Forest, I have to say, were very impressive in Turkey last week. Won 3-0. The winner of this tie faces Midtjylland or Real Betis. And Forest, for me, are through. They've done enough. Absolutely dominated that game, James. It was, for me, one of the biggest surprise performances of the round. Not necessarily the result, but the performance was sensational, actually. Just shows you the strength of the Premier League team. I've not got any interest in betting this game because Nottingham Forest have got to think about their upcoming 2 Premier League ties. Surely there's going to be rotation involved. Fenerbahce 3 down away at Premier League opposition. I think they might just give up, to be honest. No interest. Have you got any thoughts here at all?
No interest in the game from a betting point of view. No, I agree with you, Steve. I think it was an amazing performance last week from Nottingham Forest. I did not see that coming. Huge win. I think it underlines the quality in that squad, actually, which has not been borne out in the Premier League. But, you know, we said it actually a few times when we covered them during the group stage. They've got real depth in that squad. They've got quality and depth. So, yes, I think they will probably rotate. You know, why wouldn't you when you're 3-0 up from the first leg? Before that first leg, or maybe towards the end of the group stage, we said that because of the relegation trouble they're in the Premier League, certainly down lower than they'd like in the table, we weren't even sure this competition was that important to them. Now, they're almost through, so it can become important to them as the season moves on. But right now, you're absolutely right, Steve. They have to focus on the Premier League, and they've got 2 games coming up because we've got the weekend fixtures as normal, and then we've got a midweek round of games next week. So they've got Brighton away at the weekend, which I think they'll see as a winnable game now, actually. And then they've got Manchester City away in the middle of next week. Huge fixtures. When you're 3-0 up, why would you not rotate? So, yeah, we're expecting a weakened side from Forest. Doesn't mean they won't win. Doesn't mean they can't win, because I'm not sure Fenerbahce still believe they're in the tie here. Let's wait and see. But putting all of that together, I think it means it's very difficult to take a strong view, actually, on how this game will play out. You know, Forest could win it 3-0 again, or they could lose it 1-0 or 2-1 for me. I think those outcomes are all equally likely. And like I said with the Stuttgart-Celtic tie, when you've got a team who are this far clear, having got such a big win away from home, there's just not much interest for me in backing them in the game today or getting involved in the game at all. So one to leave alone, but it could be instructive for people looking at the Premier League fixtures at the weekend and in midweek. And if the Premier League is a league you follow, then keep an eye on the team news and keep an eye on how Nottingham Forest play here.
Yeah, I think Forest played very well against Liverpool. We're very unlucky to lose that fixture. If I had to say Brighton Forest at the weekend, at the moment, I'd lean Forest.
Yeah.
Brighton are just one of those hardest teams to predict. But one thing I do know, Forest are all out for the next 2 games. They're not in the FA Cup anymore, are they? They got knocked out of that. So they can go fully hard on those 2. Fenerbahce do have more than money, 68% of the money here. But 66% of the tickets are on Forest. I could see if you're having a nibble on Fenerbahce just to win the game, in case Forest are so weak and just take their eye off the ball. But yeah, I'm not interested in this fixture at all. We'll finish with Bologna against Brann. Bologna-Brann, winner of this tie, could potentially face Roma. We could get an all-Italian clash, which would be good. The first leg, I got this one wrong, unfortunately. I expected quite a lot of goals in the match. It ended 1-0. Bologna are now minus 205 favourites to win the second leg. They won 1-0. Brann plus 575. The over goal line is it's actually gone up to 2.5 this week, minus 114. The pitch did play a big part of the result last week. It was way worse than I expected it in Norway. You couldn't play proper soccer on there at all. And, from what we saw, Bologna were definitely much the better team. Effie says that Bologna -1 is his best bet of the day, but I don't know. Maybe this is sort of the romanticism in me, James, especially after Bodo Glimt's results. I wonder if Brann can kick on from that run and, on a proper pitch and take some inspiration from Bodo Glimt winning in Inter the other night. And, am I silly for actually considering just having a little nibble on the money line here?
I don't think so, no. I think it's not a game I'm getting involved in, but I don't think so for two reasons primarily. One is the tie is obviously far from over. When you've only got one goal in it, I think Brann will go into the game believing they can qualify, however they played in the first leg, however that game went. And the second thing is Bologna, I found a very difficult side to read this season. They can be quite unpredictable, both in terms of their results and also in terms of their performances. So this is one of the second legs where potentially the first leg tells you very little. Certainly, I think one or two of the other ties today, we got a better handle on the sides from what happened in the first legs than I think we will with this. So that's partly why I'm leaving it alone. It's one of those ties where I wouldn't be surprised if it went to extra time, even though that would be a huge shock in terms of the market. So no, I don't think so, Steve. I think to have a look at this is still maybe a little bit more open than the market suggests. It makes some sense to me, partly because of the unpredictability of the two teams.
Yeah, I don't often go with heart over head, but I am just going to have a slice of pizza money on Brann money line. And I've just got a gut feeling about them. All the logical side of my brain says Bologna probably win 2-0 or something. But I could just see it being the sort of game where Brann kind of fluke a win. Do you know what I mean? Like, you look at all the metrics and they're second best in everything, but somehow maybe take it to extra time. So I'm with you about Bologna, by the way. So hard to predict. They're really on my blacklist this year now.
They've been. I mean, no, we've talked about them obviously on the weekly European show, haven't we, Steve? In terms of how good are they in Serie A? I think it's fair to say all season we've struggled to say just how good they are. If you look at their form recently, and by recently I'm talking actually about the last 10 games in Serie A. I think they've only got 3 wins in their last 10 games in Serie A. They've lost 6 of those games. I think they're a bottom 6 team in Serie A across the last 10 matches. That just sums them up, because I think in the earlier part of the season, we were talking about whether this is a side that can challenge for the top 6. So inconsistent. They've had their good periods and their bad periods. And I just feel that it's one of those ties which, if they went through Bologna, would not be a surprise, but I would not want to be backing them. And I certainly wouldn't want to back them on the night to win on the money line, given that they can actually go through with a draw, can't they? So the price on Bologna over the 90 minutes got no appeal at all for me.
Yeah, I think Brann will really fight hard here. One player who did have a shot on target last week was the new man, John Dagger Thorsteinsson, and he's plus 190 for a shot on target again. I think he's going to be Brann's biggest threat in the game. At some point, they're going to have to have a go, and he may well be the most likely. Brad says Bologna can play like spam or steak, depending on the day. I mean, the thing is, I tell you what, it's no better than a rump steak, though, is it, James? They're not a filet mignon. They're not a sirloin even, really, are they?
No, they're not. Beautifully put there, I should say, by Brad. I like that, yeah. But that is the problem. You don't know what you're going to get from them. And you don't know what's going to turn up on your plate with them. And I just feel that if there's one tie that you probably want to leave alone, maybe, that actually is competitive on paper, this would be it. I think we've obviously got Ferencvaros in our daily double. I think that is the tie with a 1-goal deficit that looks more predictable to me. But, don't trust Bologna at all this season.
The money's on Bologna, 88% of the money on Bologna, 92% of the tickets, and 73% of the money's on the over for this game. It probably will go over, just to spite me from last week's match. Saw a few like the over, and they wouldn't surprise me because Brann are going to have to open up at some point. Now then, before we move to conference, they've got to remind people to please do follow the Instagram account. There's been some brilliant content on there recently. And you can get some exclusive insights in the world of soccer, tennis, and golf, especially when the likes of Nigel and Sean Calvert are out there courtside. And that's where Nigel is at the moment, in Dubai. had a winner today, gave out a tiebreak in the Lechecka game to cash a winning ticket. I mean, the Hitman was 4-0 on the halftime in plays on the Champions League last night. Yeah. I was with him on Tuesday, and I was 2-0 myself. I think the Hitman had another winner in that one too. Not sure if he's going to be live at halftime in any of the Europa games tonight, but we'll have to get you on Instagram, James, one day for these halftime shows. Yeah. They're quite a lot of fun. But
they are.
Do follow the account.
Yeah, and the Hitman, just to flag up another member of the team who's in terrific form. We mentioned Will White, obviously, but there's plenty of tipsters out there who have been terrific so far in 2026, and the Hitman is definitely one of them.
He is. He's in very, very good form indeed, especially on the UFC as well. So do follow that account. It's over 2,000 followers now. We want to try and get that to 3,000 as soon as possible. Okay. Also want to remind people the Premier League show has been released. I think it came out about an hour and a half ago. Nigel, Jack and Dan had a very, very strong week last week. Nigel with a clean sweep, and they're going through the whole weekend card. And they'll be back as well for the midweek Premier League card coming up. So do check out the Premier League show. Conference League then, James, this is where it gets really fun and difficult as well at the same time. This is the state of affairs here. I mean, I did mention last week this playoff round is lacking quality, to say the least. Those were the first leg scores. Biggest win was Fiorentina 3-0. Lech Poznan with a 2-0 win against Cups. Every other match just has a 1-goal deficit. Let's just have a quick go through the card. Early doors here. Rijeka against Omonia Nicosia. Omonia had an XG of over 3 in the first leg, but lost 1-0 to a late goal. And this is going to be another one of my sort of flutters on the money line. I am going to have a little bit of Omonia plus 215 to win in 90 minutes. They've got to win, otherwise they're out. At the moment, they're well clear in Cyprus. And, based on that first leg, maybe they can come back and get a result. So, am I that confident they'll finish their chances this time? Not necessarily, but I think plus 215 would be a decent price on them. And then the Celje against Drita game, James. We had a little bit of a discussion about this earlier in the day. We've got a goal line which is around 3, actually, 2.75 to 3. Yet both teams to score is close to even money. Now, Celje conceded 18 shots in the first leg to Drita. Now, minus 108 for both teams to score, yes. I'm really tempted here. And you were looking at the overs potentially as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the angle you found on how to play the goals on this game, if you like the goals, is brilliant. Because I don't understand why both teams to score, yes, would be so big. If you look at the stats from last week, first of all, the top line stat, it finished 3-2. So both teams got on the score sheet. The expected goals cumulatively was over 3.5. For both teams individually, it was over 1.5. So it wasn't that all the chances were being created by one team and none by the other. Celje massively won on the big chance count. They created 7. But Drita had two of their own. And obviously, like you say, 18 shots on target. And the tie is still alive. Yeah, so it's amazing to me that both teams to score yes would be that type of price, given that the goal line is set over 3. I think over 3 is available at plus 100, which is probably fair. But if you are looking for an angle on the goals in this game, and if, like as you think, it is probably more likely to be high scoring than not, then both teams to score yes certainly looks as though it's got a lot more value in it than the goal line, because than the over goal line, because that over goals being set at 3 goals plus 100, you'd need 4 goals in the game to make a profit with that. And, are we going to get as many goals as last week? Maybe, maybe not. So, yeah, I think it's a really good angle, that, Steve. I think both teams to score yes here. You almost are struggling to make an argument for why that wouldn't cash based on what happened in the first leg. Obviously, things can change dramatically between leg 1 and leg 2, but it looks like a really good opportunity for sure.
Yeah, I would go as far as to say it's probably my best bet in the Conference League today. Celje have been a glutton of goals as well ever since they've been in this competition, and with Drita being behind, they've got to score. in the game, haven't they? So just go back to the early game slate for the Conference League there. Samsunspor, Skendia. Saw someone put a bet in chat for this one. Samsunspor moneyline and team total over 1.5, says Effie. Got to say, these are the two teams I know they're probably the least about in the competition that's left. Samsunspor, mid-table in the Turkish league, were very dominant in the first leg, but only won 1-0. And then Fiorentina 3-0 up against Hagliono. Just seen the lineups for Fiorentina, it is weak. It's not looking that great. I mean, of those for the other three games on the slate, James, any brief thoughts on there? Do you agree with me about Omonia?
Yeah, I think your argument there makes a lot of sense. I don't have strong views on those other games in terms of the money line or the over-under goals on the individual games. One trend I wanted to flag up from the first legs last week, which may be instructive for people who are looking at the under-over goals market on the Conference League, is that I noticed the 8 games in the Conference League first legs last week cumulatively produced a higher XG and a greater number of big chances than the 8 games in the Europa League did. And yet the actual goals count in the Europa League was considerably higher. Now, it's only one set of fixtures, so you may well need to dig into that type of trend over more than just one round of matches. But the point I'm making there is that we were not short of chances in the Conference League games last week. The teams were producing good XGs and creating, a good number of big chances. They were not converting them, certainly not converting them in the same numbers as we saw converted in the Europa League. That would be my only word of warning about these Conference League games. And one of the reasons I've stayed away from a lot of the matches is I'm just not sure about the quality that we've got from some of these teams when they actually get in front of goal, because creating the chances doesn't seem to be a problem based on what we saw last week. That would be the main factor that keeps me away from these games. On Fiorentina, obviously they're rotating heavily as we expected. They're in a relegation battle in Serie A. I think their next game they're the Monday night game this weekend away at Udinese. So they got a little bit of time to rest and prep for that game anyway. The only thing I would flag up on that game, Steve, is that they won 3-0 away from home last weekend and rotated heavily on that occasion too, didn't they? So they can do it when they rest some of their big players. Obviously this week, the main issue with Fiorentina is they don't need to win. They're another of these sides who've got that big lead from an away first leg. So not many strong views from me on these individual games on any of the big markets, really. I think a lot of these games are ones to just watch and leave alone.
Dan Roebuck says the Polish league is a real scrap at the top, 4 points between the top 7, and it puts him off betting any of them this midweek. The Polish league has actually picked up a hell of an amount of coefficient points this season, but I think they've been really lucky getting in the they're all in the Conference League. It's so much easier to pick up points in the Conference League. I've got to be honest, James, I think the Polish league sucks. I don't think it's a very good league. And I think the coefficient is complete and utter rubbish, really, on it. And they're just very fluky that they're doing it in the Conference League. Last season as well, they had got a lot of Conference League points. So I would have no problems opposing a lot of these Polish teams. Which is apologies to Polish viewers, but we'll go to the Conference League late here. I mean, for example, Lech Poznan and Cups there. Cups, I said last week, they lost 18 players already this window. It's like the easiest possible tie you could have had. And Lech Poznan, of course, they were going to feast on that one. It was absolute men against the boys. 30 shots they had. And I was even looking at Lech Poznan -2 tonight, even if they rest and rotate, because Cups were that bad. But AZ Alkmaar Noah is probably the most interesting game on the slate, actually. It did surprise me, this one last week. Noah won 1-0. They haven't played a competitive game for ages. Their league doesn't start till March. Yet they beat AZ, who they're not a bad side, AZ. Yeah. I was thinking AZ maybe should just... I mean, I might have just disrespected Noah a bit too much here, but I was thinking AZ probably should have way too much in the second leg. But you made a good point earlier to me when we were talking that are Noah perhaps underrated?
Well, I think they might be. I'm not convinced enough that I'm going to back them here, so there's no pick or lean on me, but I was a little bit taken aback by the price of +900 on Noah and -375 on AZ, just based on that first leg, because Noah got the 1-0 win. They won on the night on XG as well. Not many chances for both sides, but they were ahead. and they created 2 big scoring chances to AZ's 3, admittedly. But yeah, my takeaway from that first leg was that they are competitive. They are competitive, and they go into this second leg with a 1-0 lead. And I was a little bit surprised to find that you can back Noah plus 1.5 on the Asian handicap at minus 110. As I say, not enough for me to get involved in the game, but it did give me pause for thought when I saw the prices. The other thing to say about Noah is they've had 3 away games, obviously, in the group phase. They lost one of them, but they did avoid defeat in the other 2. I think they drew at Aberdeen, and I think they drew in Romania against Universita Craiova. So, yeah, a little bit of form there, although they're arguably facing a tougher team tonight. The point you make about their league having not started is a point worth making, I should say. Last week was their first competitive game of 2026. I think they've had 5 friendlies in the run-up to that match. So, they're not completely cold going into that first leg, but they haven't had a great deal of action in 2026. I just felt that they, are maybe a little bit underrated based on that first leg when they're priced up at plus 900. So not getting involved in it, but it's a game that certainly looks interesting, and it will be interesting to see if it plays out as convincingly in favour of AZ as the market thinks it will do.
Apologies, James. My cat has just joined me and she's playing around with my microphone. Do you know what I'm going to bet on here? I'm an animal lover. I'm a bird lover. Yeah. Troy Parrott, first scorer, plus 200. This is a man who has scored nearly 30 goals in all competitions this season. So I think that's too big, considering their favoritism. He's minus money to score any time, but plus 200 first scorer for Troy Parrott. The Crystal Palace game against Zrinjski. Palace not even winning the first leg. They've been so laid back and poor in this Conference League. I think they've almost been in first or second gear, and I think the same will happen again. I think under 3.25 goals is very likely here. Crystal Palace to win probably 2-0, 3-0 tops, get the job done. I don't see Zrinjski scoring it, so I would probably say it's one of my favourite under bets of the day. But Palace, not really. They're not a team that racks up the score, are they?
They're not, and they've surprised us all the way through this competition in a bad way, I suppose, given their competition favourites. They haven't played like it. They didn't play like it again last week, which was really surprising to me. So I'm backing off Palace here. I'm opting out of getting involved with them. I'm starting to think that their favouritism for the tournament can't actually really be justified. Will they win tonight? They certainly should do. They should go through, but you have to back them minus 2.25 on the Asian handicap at evens to get anything. Not something I'd be prepared to do on them.
I think that is every game that we've covered in the Conference League. Was there one more? I think that was it, actually. Oh, yeah, Lausanne Sigma. I've got nothing in that at all. I think producer Troy has a bet in this one. He's very interested in that game. 2 sides that I have very, very little knowledge about. So we might as well, James, while we're here, get your opinion on tomorrow's big game in France.
Yes.
A huge one, Strasbourg against Lens. We can't let it slide now you're here. And it's interesting to me that Strasbourg are the actual favourites for the game, around about the plus 135 mark. Lens blew it last week, didn't they? But I thought they played well for an hour.
They did.
What are your thoughts on this one? I'm thinking there might be a few goals, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lens actually did bounce back.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be an entertaining and open game. That's my view on how it will play out. I think the trend very clearly on Strasbourg since Gary O'Neill took over as manager is they are brilliant going forward. Their XG per game under him, XG4, just the team XG for Strasbourg, is extremely high. I think they're still averaging over 2 XG. They deserved their 3-1 win against Lyon last week, and they played extremely well. That is a Lyon side that went into the game on a run of 13 straight victories. For me, they were playing the best football in League One. So Strasbourg are looking to do the same thing again here. They will be full of confidence, and I think they've got good team news as well. I think they're able to put out their strongest starting 11. So Strasbourg will be really up for this. Do they deserve to be favourites? I would have it more as a 50-50 tie. I was a little bit surprised myself when I saw that. It may be slightly to do with team news. Again, we're obviously speaking more than 24 hours out from the game. But I think Lens are going to be without one of their back 3 and also their right wing back. And I'm not sure about the replacements in either position, I've got to say. When I say not sure of the quality. So I think they're going to be a little bit more vulnerable than they would like. It's probably going to be the same back five that they had last weekend, and that's when they conceded those 3 goals against Monaco. So I've got a couple of doubts about Lens at the moment, although it's a little bit harsh, I think, that they're underdogs, given how they played. If I was going to have a bet on the game, I would go over goals. I think the goal line is set at 3, which is a shame in a way. It's quite high. Over 2.75, which is minus money, but not huge minus money, is worth a look, because the way Strasbourg in particular are playing, and Lens will play, given that they're in a title race and are essentially going for the win home and away, plus the fact that Lens have probably got a couple of players missing, I find it very difficult to see how the game would not have 3 goals. So I think over 3 goals to get your money back on the Asian goal line, or over 2.75 goals if you're willing to go minus money. That would be the way I play it. But listen, if you've got nothing else to do on Friday night, it would be a game worth watching, I think, because comment there about the intensity of the team. Strasbourg's intensity, great comment from Ginepi. Really great watch at the moment, loads of intensity, and Lens have been absolutely brilliant all season. So it should be a firecracker of a match, I think.
Yeah, you can get over 2.75 goals tomorrow in Strasbourg Lens with Bet Rivers minus 121. I think that's a really good looking bet. And hopefully it'll be a cracking match. So, that will conclude today's stream. Just looking through the comments, making a few comments about my Polish remarks. Am I right or am I wrong about Polish soccer? Let me know in the comments now or on demand. I mean, this is the example, right? Jagiellona are top of the Polish league. They just lost 3-0 at home to a Fiorentina second team. Now... I mean, look, the team in second, I've genuinely never heard of them. Zagreb, Lech Poznan a third, and then Górnik Zabrze, and then Rakov a fifth. Rakov are already in the Conference League later stages. So I just don't think it's that good a league.
You're not convinced at all, are you, Steve?
Well, I'm not compared to the coefficient points it's been getting. Yeah. And I think it's real weakness in the UEFA system where they almost get rewarded for landing in the Conference League because they get knocked out of Europa League qualifying and Champions League qualifying. Like, I'm not bitter about Polish soccer at all, but I just feel the coefficient is kind of rubbish.
Yeah. So let's see what happens tonight. Let's see how they fare. But listen, they didn't do great today in the first leg, so I think it's a fair point.
Daily double. It's on screen. Genk against Dinamo Zagreb, over 2.5 goals. Ferencvaros, Ludogorets. That is a Ferencvaros moneyline play, plus 200. Please do check out the Premier League show. Please do like and subscribe to the channel as well. Follow on Instagram. And then later on, Betting Weekly Live US edition, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Mike Carver, Doug Kazarian, they've been hitting loads of daily doubles as well. In profit for the daily double is that show. There's a lot going on, James, and tomorrow finally I will be having a rest from Betting Weekly Live. It's been a long stint, but Dan Roebuck is in the host chair tomorrow, and he's going to be joined by Lewis Jones.
Oh, dream team!
Premier League match is on tomorrow. Wolves against Villa is on, so do check out Betting Weekly Live tomorrow, and there'll be extra time as well. We're going to record that in the morning. I've got 13 picks on my shortlist, James.
I heard that rumor. I know. So, and I don't get to see them till the show. So, intrigued to see what you come up with.
Dan's like, am I? According to the rotor you are, Dan. I hope I'm right about that one. I'm back on Monday with Jack Wright, and then Tuesday with Nigel. Midweek Premier League card as well coming up. But let's see how the weekend goes. Thanks everyone who has joined Live or On Demand this whole week. Again, it's been a fantastic week of action. We've had loads of winners. And thanks to the production team behind the background as well. Troy and John have done a brilliant, brilliant job. We've had a lot of you in. The comments are sensational. The channel really feels hot right now. James, it was such a pleasure as always. And we get into the last 16 next time we do the Europa League. So
thank you.
A little bit better quality, hopefully, in the Conference League debate. But until next time, everyone, please do gamble responsibly. Have a great weekend and check out all the shows today and tomorrow. Take care and goodbye.